Hey everyone, Brian from Bear Bull Traders here. Sunday, February 24th. Wrapping up February this week. It's going to be in the books. So let's just take a look at the week that was, and then we'll take a quick look ahead and see what we're looking at for this final week in February and into March. And we can see here, just starting out looking at the market internals, we're still strengthening. We've got, about half of the stocks at their or above their 200-day moving average. Lots of them above the 50 and 20. So we got a raging bull market, and that's probably no surprise to anybody who's been watching the market. Come a long way off those 2018 December 24th lows. So let's just take a look at what was performing last week. Industrial goods, utilities is, they're on a bit of a roll. Basic materials, same thing. Technology, consumer goods, healthcare conglomerates, a bit of the laggards, but you can see everything's in the green here. And we got a big week coming up. We've got lots of retailers that are going to be reporting. We've got Lowe's and Home Depot and the home builders. We do have some U.S. home stats coming up on Tuesday. Case-Shiller, permits, starts, and like I said, we've got a fair amount of retailers reporting this week. We've got Macy's, Nordstrom's, JCP, Foot Locker, and Etsy. So we'll see how these consumer goods, the retail sector does this week. So let's just take a look here at some of the indexes, and you can see here the Dow continuing move higher well through the 200. See how it came up there, pulled back, touched the 200, and then off to the races again. RSI looking good. MACD still strong. Take a look at that on the weekly. Again, here you can see a nice strong trend upwards. And we've got to be getting close to some point where we're going to get a pullback. Maybe we have to get up to 26.5. Ish with another 500 points, but you look at this. This has just been essentially straight up without a pullback. So, and you can see here volume is starting to taper off a bit on the weekly. Let's take a look at the Russell 2000 IWM. Again, we're up in a little bit of a overbought territory here, but we came up to the 200, touched it, pulled back yesterday or Thursday, and then Friday pushed ahead again. So this is the pain trade, as I've been saying all along. You tried to short this market, find levels where it would find resistance and pull back, but it just keeps going higher. So anybody who's been trying to short this market has been in the pain trade. Let's see, QQQ, same thing. Let's take a look at the weekly, because the weekly is kind of showing up some interesting things. Again, look at this volume dropping right off. So what that tells me is that maybe some of the big institutions aren't buying as much, more retail traders, maybe computers trading back and forth. But the volume, it's a little bit concerning, which would lead me to believe that we're getting pretty close to at least seeing a pullback on some of these stocks here. And let's get past the QQQs. Let's look at the 500 large cap. Same story, heading upwards and getting up into another area where we could see some resistance at 2800. Same story. RSI looking strong here. MACD still above the short-term average is still above long-term. So looking interesting for a continuation move higher. Dollar tried to break above this level. Let's take a look at the US dollar index just to see how things are looking, and this can impact the things like the commodities like gold, silver prices, and emerging markets. So we had a rejection here at this level, looked like pretty close to the top, and now we're we'll see what we're going to do here. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on this week, because be interested to see which direction the dollar goes. If it goes down, it'll be good for gold and other commodities in the emerging markets. Let's see the VIX. The VIX just continues to get volatility, just continues to get sucked out of the market here. Amazing, and it's probably going to continue to go lower. You know, it looks like we've got a deal, a Chinese trade deal, the U.S. coming. Both parties are signaling that's going to happen, and I strongly believe it will. You know, the Fed's off the table as far as fundraising or raising rates goes for a while, so it's just you know, just a grind higher. Let's just take a look at the weekly here. I'm just kind of curious to know see how it ended the week. Again, volume, you know, common story. Volume really just dropping off here, which we'll have to keep an eye on which direction things go. Let's take a look at what we've got as actives. Start with that. CAG was on, we took a position on that, but you can see it really didn't follow through and had to take a stop out on that one. NUGT, I took the trade off, but I should really have moved this to my watch list, but I did take the trade off this week when it jumped up here just before the Fed made the announcements, or their meeting announcements came out, and that's why I actually took some off the position off, because gold tends to react quite strongly when the minutes come out, and this is exactly what I was worried about. We'd get a pretty strong pullback, so I took some off out here. But I'm going to keep an eye on this, because obviously, you know, whatever the dollar does is going to impact this, so we'll be keeping an eye on that for another entry, because I still think it could move up to 25. RSI maybe starting to peel back up again, making a higher low here. MACD starting to turn positive again, so kind of interesting, and keep an eye on that. Might be looking at a re-entry. ROKU I took off on, you know, prior to them announcing earnings, and you know, that's just my philosophy, not to hold stocks through earnings, and in this case, it gapped up and really ran. So you know, I did do a day trade on this. I got in and got out, just took advantage of the fact that it was roaring higher, and it just looked like it was going to continue higher all day. So I took a position, got a couple bucks, and then got out of it. So I think it's up right at some resistance here. You can kind of see here. So I'm not, we'll see what happens on tomorrow, but I'd be looking for maybe something like this, a pullback, like a gap up, and then maybe a gap higher in the morning, and then a pullback. But at this point, no position, and I think we'll end up maybe getting into a little bit of a consolidation period with ROKU. So again, that'll be back on the watch list off the actives. And TNA, still in TNA, just hanging on. It's just keeps going up. Let's quickly take a look at I just want to take a look at the 20 moving average here. Update that. Again, you can see here across the 50 would have been a good entry anywhere along here, but across the 50, and it's, you know, 50's turning up. MACD looks strong. RSI is a little bit oversold now, but still looks pretty strong, and I think it'll probably go higher. There's the 200-day moving average, which it's probably going to shoot for. But 70 would be, you know, a level where you might look at taking some off. So it's still looking good. And some of the stocks on watch, let's just take a look at a few of those. Somebody mentioned Facebook to me, so I took a look at it for them, and I'll just go over it quickly here. I'm not sure if I'm going to take this trade or not, but you can kind of see here it's holding this 160 level at this point. I kind of think there's a lot of headwinds with Facebook, a lot of unknowns. So it did gap up, and it's pulled back here. It seems to be holding 160. Looks like a bit of a double bottom here. And you know, if you did want to take an entry, I'd use a stop at 160, because there's a, you know, there's a 155 level here where it could stall again, or you know, you're back to 150 if, you know, if you really wanted to fill this gap, if the stock really wanted to fill this gap. So but you know, might not be a bad day trade, or a swing trade, I should say. Coke, I was looking at Coke. Again here, this might be something that could be a little of a defensive play. You know, 45 could be your stop out. It's 45.28 now. It's not a stock that moves a heck of a lot, but you know, if you got an entry around 45, might not be a bad trade. Right now it's looking pretty ugly, but you know, it had a big flush here and you know, took a lot of the weak hands out, and might be a good trade for the longer term if you really wanted to buy some Coke and stick it away. This was something I had on watch, and glad I didn't take it because it just went into the cellar. I think they came up with some bad news on one of their drug trials. So taking that off watch. So here's one I was watching, and it's platinum. It's kind of going along with the gold and silver trade. Platinum seems to be breaking out here. I'm going to look at this on Monday, possibly. You can see here a wedge that formed, nice wedge, and now it's breaking out. You know, $2 could be a reasonable target for this. 190. You can get in around 160, stop out around 150, and 190 would give you, you know, 30 cents upside to 10 cents downside. So it could be a good trade on that one. UNL, this is natural gas, and I've been watching this one. People have been asking me about it in the room, so I know I play it, but you know, it's been pretty volatile in the last little while, so I've just been watching it. But you know, here we see a nice wedge. It looks like it's going to break out here, and you can kind of see it did a bit of a false breakout here. But I'm just going to watch it on Monday. Maybe it might be good for a bit of a run here if it can continue out of this wedge. So I'd be watching that pretty closely on Monday as well for a play. And if you wanted to play the natural gas price long, you'd play at UNG, or if you really wanted to go crazy, the UGAZ is another ETF that's 3 times beta, so you'd get a lot more movement, but you know, either up or down. So you know, the sword cuts both ways. And energy's kind of hanging in here. It just seems like if like economies are going to strengthen a bit again, energy could continue to go higher. So I'll be looking for a break here and see if that happens. Otherwise, we may end up into a consolidation period with energy. And utilities, like I said, we've been talking about. We've been looking at utilities when we did looking at the markets overall and the groups from FinViz. And you can see utilities have just been on fire and going higher. On fire, going higher. Let's take a look at the weekly. I'm just curious about how the volume looks. And you can see here, again, volume, same story, volume kind of dropping off on it. But you see the weekly does look pretty strong here, and it looks like it wants to go higher. Utilities is kind of interesting that utilities are going higher, because this, you know, utilities is your safety trade. You know, people will flood to those when they want to stick money in the market, but they don't want to put it in anything too volatile. So utilities look like they want to go higher. So if you wanted to buy some of that and just stick it away, it might look like a decent trade. And if you looked at specific utilities, you know, you might even be able to pick up a utility that had a dividend too. So anyway, that is it, everybody. So hope you've all had a great weekend, and we will see you in the Bear Bull trading day trading room in the morning. And if you hadn't had a chance, check out my How to Swing Trade book, available on Amazon. See you in the morning, everyone.